No, this was a random live stream. I streamed, I think, a couple of weeks ago, and I don't normally stream again this in this kind of frequency like so often. But woke up, got in a workout, had some caffeine, feeling to talk some hi-fi. So if there's anyone out there with questions, any topics you're confused about in this hobby, any products, comparisons, any upcoming reviews, stuff like that, let's chat about it. It does look like there's a couple people in here. If you can just comment though and let me know if you can hear me, because sometimes the stream is a little wonky and you guys can't hear me. Loud and clear. Okay, good, good. I was starting to get worried for a second there, Andres. No one was saying anything. Like, I know I don't have the biggest channel, so I can't expect like 100 people to jump in right away. But I did get a little concerned there. I thought I might have to restart the stream. I remember one time I started to stream and like nobody could hear me for some reason. And then another time I started to stream and then like 5 minutes in, it just cut. Super frustrating stuff. So look, I got some topics I typed up just in case it took a while for this thing to get started. So I'm gonna give you some options on topics for the few of you that are in here. Let me know if you have an opinion on what you want to hear me talk about. Amps and DACs should not color the sound. That's one topic. You can't hear bass. That's another one. Diminishing return. Taste versus what's best. Okay. We could talk about the live harmony DAC. I got that in for review. I've had it for a few months. Hey, what's up, Ultrasonic? Good to see you in here. We could talk about audio addiction. You know, are you having fun in the hobby or is it starting to become stressful? We could talk about toxic characteristics, or how about how much detail is enough detail? You know, where do you draw the line? You know, oh, 14 people in here already. Let's go. Let's go. So if you guys don't pick a topic, here, look, I'm going to drop the topics in the chat. First person to tell me what they want to hear about, that's what I'm talking about. Oh, it's too long. You can't put that much in the chat. I can't do it. I can't do it. So look, I'm just going to pick one until you guys start asking questions. Let's talk about the live harmony DAC because there's an important difference. I was talking to Alvin about this DAC recently. I got it for review about 30 days ago. It's a very new product. It's only got a few reviews out so far. And one of the things they're doing differently is Live is offering a return period. And I know that was a complaint or a concern a lot of people might have had with the Denafrips brand. Some people were just a little worried about the product not having a return window. But Live Harmony DAC will have a return window, so I thought that was pretty cool. Ultrasonic says, thank you for the latest IOTA review. Yeah, no problem. By the way, there's an Easter egg in that review where you can find a link to another review where I compare all three amps together ahead of time. If you want to do a little bit of hunting, I'll leave that up to you. But the Live Harmony DAC, and by the way, it's pronounced live. A few of the early reviewers said lave. And I get that. It looks like it's pronounced lave, but it is pronounced live. Got some comments popping in. Edwin says, hi, Nemo. I want to upgrade my subwoofer. This is my favorite kind of question. You guys know I'm the subwoofer guy. I love subwoofers. I have an RSL 10S Mark II. Which one do you recommend for under $1,000? Edwin, do me a favor. Let me know what your room size is. If this is music only, if you're doing theater also, maybe what speakers you have, and that'll help me out because I'm going to give a different recommendation if you're mostly theater versus if you're just, you know, maybe 20% theater. Wee Wee Jumbo says, I'd be simping for a hollow spring, but then Live started showing up. Yeah. So the hollow DACs I've never heard, but that's another like a very stylized Very beautiful looking DAC. And look, there's audio components of all different aesthetics and build quality. Some are very like simple, utilitarian looking. Denafrips makes very utilitarian looking products. Rhythmic subwoofers are very utilitarian looking, right? But then, you know, on the DAC side, Hollow has some really beautiful stuff. Now Live with the Harmony DAC with subwoofers, Rel makes some beautiful stuff. So I'm happy to see that we have both utilitarian options and hyper stylized options that look really beautiful in the home. Yama Fanboy. Guys, I want you to know Yama Fanboy is like one of the most OG subscribers to Nemo Propaganda. I think Yama Fanboy subscribed to my channel back when I had like 850 subscribers. Always good to see you in the stream. His comment is, hi, I made a comment on a previous video and it got deleted. I don't know. I didn't delete it, brother. It says, I don't know if you deleted it or if YouTube deleted it, but I wondered, hold on. I wondered if you wanted to do a video on discontinued products worth buying on eBay. So no, brother, I didn't delete your comment. I do delete comments sometimes. It's very rare. Usually, guys, I only delete comments if the person's very toxic, or sometimes people go on my channel to just air their dirty laundry. Like maybe someone bought a DAC, an amplifier, a speaker, a subwoofer, whatever, and maybe it failed. And maybe they didn't have a good experience with the company for the service, the repair, the warranty. They became very upset and didn't feel the company's taking care of them. So they come on my channel and they start saying this company is terrible, this and that. And there's no context. It's an argument from like one perspective. And I usually delete comments like that because my review is not a place for anyone to air their dirty laundry. You know what I'm saying? But to answer your question, Yama, no, actually, I don't have any interest in that. I don't like reviewing discontinued products. I worry that even if they are available on the used market, they're going to be hard to find, questionable condition. I know there's a lot of hidden gems out there in the used market if one can be patient and hunt for those. But, you know, there's a lot of horror stories from the used market as well. So I'd rather not get into that myself. Yama also said, by the way, I replied to your last comment also, and that reply also got deleted. Brother, YouTube doesn't like you. I will try to see if there's a safe list I can add you to on my YouTube channel. I know I had to do that for another member of the channel. Irene is a girl that, one of my 2.5 female subscribers, and YouTube kept putting her comments in the spam section, and they wouldn't be public. So I had to add her to a safe list. Like, hey, look, this person's cool, leave them alone. And now her comments come in normally. I might have to do that with yours. If you don't mind, brother, because by the end of the stream I have a bad memory, shoot me an email. I think you should still have my email address and just be like, hey, bro, add me to the safe list for my screen name, and I'll do it after the stream. Kay says, hi, Nemo. Thank you for all your work. Hey, always happy to see you, Kay. Edwin says, my room is 10 by 15 feet, and I'm going to use it as a home theater. Thanks. Oh, Edwin, easy decision here. You have the RSL 10S. You're looking to spend under $1,000. You want the biggest upgrade possible, mostly a theater system. RSL 12S. That is a really easy one. That subwoofer has a massive sense of scale, a very forceful bottom end, and it still plays reasonably tight. It's still reasonably articulate with its transient response, and it can be fairly tactile, which is a rare characteristic for a vented subwoofer. I feel like I look weird. Can I raise this up? I don't know, why do my shoulders look slumped in this stream? It's so weird how the different cameras make me look different. Anyway, who cares? Maybe my chair's too high? Now I look weird. God damn, who cares? So yeah, Edwin, RSL 12S, if that's too big, you got smaller options like the Rhythmic LV12M. That's another really like high sound quality subwoofer that can still put out a lot of output. Those are going to be my two top choices for you in two different sizes. If that doesn't work for some reason, let me know why and I'll find an alternative for you. Yama says, YouTube hates me recently for some reason. Yeah, man, that's a real thing. Some people get shadow banned. You know, that you could be shadow banned for some reason. Maybe, you know, I'm not implying anything, but maybe you mouthed off to someone and commented something to someone else YouTube didn't like, and they've just shadow banned you maybe. Salman Habib says, hi Nemo. I have a pair of SVS Prime bookshelf speakers and SVS SB4000 sub. What is the recommended integrated amp for medium-sized room? Thanks, bro. So I've only heard the Prime wireless. I haven't heard the regular Primes, but if they sound about the same, which is just, it's just a guess. I mean, here, do this. Help me help you. Give me a budget on what you're trying to spend. In my experience, most people kind of have an upper limit on what they're trying to spend. Let me know what that is, and I'll find a good option for you. Also, if you can maybe let me know what you're hoping to improve, what sound you're kind of looking for out of those speakers, that will help too. Kay says, I'm in the market for 2 subs. Have you ever tried the H-frame subs from, yeah, we don't talk about that brand here, bro. I'm sorry. We don't. Unfortunately, Danny has chosen to make a lot of comments and statements about other reviewers that I respect and admire, and pretty much go as far as to say we're all just unqualified and don't know what we're doing. I have a fairly strong and fairly negative opinion of him. And for that reason, I don't think it's right that I talk about his products, because I will be negative. I will be biased. My emotions towards the man will, without a doubt, color any opinion I will have, because I have a strong disdain for him. So, you know, in line with trying to be a logical human being, if I know I have a level of disdain that is fairly high for a person, a brand, I think it's best I don't comment on their products. You know what I'm saying? Because I'd be biased, you know. Yama says, just so everyone knows, there's only one video uploaded to my channel. Oh, yeah, that's why, bro. That's why. I won't even say the word because I'll get shadow banned. I can't even say it, bro. I'm sure you notice, like, when other YouTubers make topics about that topic you just typed about, they don't even say the word, or they censor themselves, because that will cause a shadow ban. It's unfortunate, but there are some politics involved in social media, and there's certain things you got to just stay away from, or you know, you can get, you know, you can become restricted without realizing it. Planetary 13 says, hey, do you agree to buy a lesser sub such as a, well, let me just read the whole thing. Do you agree to buy a lesser sub such as Rhythmic LV12M with various acoustics treatment than a more expensive sub like F12 or FVX12 for home theater and music? I would not consider the LV12M a lesser sub, but I get what you mean compared to Rhythmic's own FVX12. Yeah, Rhythmic's own FVX12 is on a higher level, but the LV12M is a hidden gem. It's a top tier performer, and it competes with a lot of other subwoofers up to $1,000, easily outperforms quite a few of them, and has better sound quality than most of them. Your question, I think, fundamentally is, if I've got limited financial resources, which we all do, right, to some degree, should I sacrifice a little bit of one of my components or products and spend money on room treatment? Room treatment's really important. It's really important. It depends. How much do you value imaging? I have found that adding room treatment at the first reflection points, and you could do this without spending too much money, using like a pair of GIK Gobo panels. Let's see what those cost. I haven't checked those in a while. And those panels at the first reflection points will tremendously help with imaging, staging, detail, nuanced detail, because it almost serves the same benefit as when you lower the noise floor on an amplifier. It just makes everything sound more effortless, and I think it's worth every penny. What I would suggest is, if you really want the FVX12 and you really want the room treatment, maybe get the room treatment and hold off on getting the FVX12 until you can save a little bit more money, or vice versa. Go for that more expensive FVX12 and save the room treatment for later. I don't think you should sacrifice to do it all at once. At least that's not how I would do it, because one of those things can wait. The room treatment can wait for sure. A lot of people don't even have room treatment. So I think I would do the subwoofer you want, room treatment later. The goooo panels are $164.99 sold individually, and you do need 2 of them. So 165 times 2, 330. I don't know if shipping's included or not. You know, say after tax and shipping, it's $400. For the benefit it provides, it's worth it. I also have bass traps. Bass traps, whether you need them or not, or how much of an improvement they'll be, it's going to depend on the room. Let's see, where did I leave off? Yeah, so yeah, no, I got the question. Yeah, so he Planetary's correcting. He's saying versus more expensive sub with no room treatment. You know, it depends on the sub. I found vented subs don't seem to be as picky as sealed subs with the room. They just have so much more output around the port tuning frequency. They can more easily fight any room issues because they just have such they have more headroom, right? And they also have a wider sweet spot in terms of volume ranges because being vented, they hardly have any air pressure behind them. I mean, it's kind of like a leaky box unless you're at the port tuning frequency. What else do we have here? Yama's agreeing with me. He's saying, yeah, do not say that word, bro. Yeah, I know. Trust me. It's not even a topic I want to get into. And this is the reality. Everyone has their own opinions. But you guys don't watch my content to hear me talk about my opinions on the world, politics, governments. That's not what you guys watch my channel for. You want to hear me talk about hi-fi, right? We do these hobbies because we don't want to deal with the real world nonsense, the madness going on. And no matter where you live, you know, there's always some madness going on, guys. You know, no one's alone in that. Yama says, you know, one question I've been wanting to ask but just didn't want to bug you with is in the comments, if you plan on reviewing the Geshelli J2. I've had a Geshelli J2 for 3 years. I bought it with my own money to review it. And what happens, those of you who remember the ELAC UBR62, that's another product I bought with my own money. When I buy a product with my own money to review it, it's all the way at the bottom of the totem pole in terms of priority because I don't have any commitment. I don't have any timeline. When I take on a review sample, I commit to about a 60-day turnaround time. And as a man, keeping my word is very important to me. So I almost always have the review filmed, edited, and ready to go by the 60-day mark. Sometimes it could take up to 90 days if I'm very busy with my normal job, which can involve travel. Yeah, I lack motivation, honestly, to review the very inexpensive, more desktop items. It's just not something I care about too much on a personal level. So it goes to the back burner, man. I'm sorry. Edwin says, thanks for answering. Sounds like the RSL12S or the Rhythmic LB12M are what you're getting. Both fantastic, brother. You can't go wrong with either. I would say, look, if you can fit the space of that 12S, you're going to love it. It's incredible. But if that honker is just a little too large, and I understand if it is, that is not a small sub, the LB12M is extremely good. What else do we got here? Okay, Solomon says, thank you for the reply. Currently, I have an Audiolab 6000A, and I'm looking for an upgrade, either AV receiver or integrated amp, budget around $2,000, mostly for movies. Solomon, so unfortunately, I have zero AVR experience. I don't review AVRs. I'm not into them. I don't do multi-channel. So I'm not sure I can help you with that. If it's I mean, I can recommend a couple integrated amps, but you know, it's mostly for movies. So like a stereo amp's not going to really help you much, especially if you want to do like multi-channel in the future. If you're not going to do multi-channel in the future and you just want like a stereo that you're going to use mostly for TV, kind of like I do, like Over here, I use the Hagel H190 and the Supermon Mini and a Kef KC62 behind the couch, and that's my TV setup. That's a tough one, man. I'll be honest, I don't think I have the experience to really answer that question. I'm sorry, man. Middle Earth, are half sound waves longer than the room problematic? I don't know what that means. I'm sorry. My knowledge on, let me read your second comment. Does it make sense to get a subwoofer that goes no deeper than allowing a 1 hertz half sound wave to fully propagate? I understand your question. I'm not knowledgeable enough on the topic to answer it. And I don't want to sit here and try to BS you. The various engineers from various companies have tried to explain this to me, and my brain has a hard time because sound is invisible, and I'm a very visual person, so I try to imagine it. I have a hard time with it. I understand the concept. I've experienced its issues. And I'll do my best to just share my experience, and hopefully that answers your questions. Yeah, I've had some subwoofers that should get down to 20 hertz, but in my little room just wouldn't do it without bass traps. And what the reason is what you're describing. My room was just too small for that wave to properly propagate. But I've had other subwoofers in my room that could hit those lower frequencies. And that's usually going to be the vented subs. And that's why I don't know if, like, or maybe are they just able to overpower the room more or fight that more, or why is that happening? I'm not sure, but it's not uncommon for me to recommend vented subs to guys with smaller rooms opposed to giant sealed ones in theater environments. Yeah, I don't have enough information or experience to answer that question. It's something I've been wanting to just like learn more about. Same with like amplifier circuits. I hardly know anything about amplifier circuits, output stages. I don't know anything about that. I don't even know what that really means or what those products do. I don't even know what capacitors do, honestly, in an amplifier. Most of my experience in the hobby is how does the product perform in a real world environment? That's kind of all I care about. And the tech stuff, I haven't found to be helpful for me. You know, that's not to say it's not helpful at all, but Planetary 13, the room treatment would be acoustic curtains, bass traps in the upper corners, wall panels. That's it. I mean, any room treatment, room treatment is like a subwoofer, and anything's better than nothing. You know, sometimes I'll get people with a big room and they'll be like, hey, like, I want to get an SVS Micro 3000 for one reason or another. Maybe they got a space constraint or it's all their wife will allow. Is it going to be good enough in my massive room? Well, you know, it's not going to play all that loud in a massive room, but it's certainly better than having no subwoofer at all, you know? And I'd say any level of acoustic treatment is just going to be a benefit, you know? Initially, all I had was those panels at the first reflection points, and it was such a tremendous difference. I couldn't believe it. So I say go for it. Get the subwoofer first, though. That's my advice. This is a good question. Stefan Olson says, in all honesty, how many watts do my amp need? My short list is down to monitor audio silver 200G, acoustic energy AE320, and a used Q acoustic concept 50. Not hard to drive speakers. Also have a SVS SB1000 Pro, low pass at 80 hertz. I like to crank it up sometimes, about 95 dB. I get you can't give an exact answer, but perhaps speak generally. Yeah, that's an interesting one because I've reviewed amps like the name is escaping me. Sorry, the Prima Luna Evo 100. Okay, and despite, let me look up the specs so I don't misspeak here. I probably shouldn't vape on stream. That might get me Well, shadow band. Oops. Okay, Prima Luna Evo 100 is $28. Come on, Prima Luna, where are the specs? You have to scroll forever on their website to get down to specs. 40 watts times 2 at 8 ohms, 1% THD. I've reviewed amps that have like 30 to 50 watts that have tremendous power, seemingly. Effortless. No problem getting loud. The Prima Luna Evo 100 was not one of them. So what I've come to discover is that watts are not watts. Not everyone's watts are the same watts. I don't know why. I don't know if it's companies measuring differently. I don't know if it's the amplifier circuitry, but watts are not watts. Like 50 watts from Emotiva is more than, like substantially more than 40 watts from Prima Luna. I don't know why. Just to be clear, the Prima Luna does sound better than like Emotiva TA1, for example, right? The Prima Luna is quite a bit more expensive, but you start getting like above 80, 85 dB, even in a smaller room. And the Prima Luna just didn't sound effortless. But then there's like Thomas's amp. I have his EL34 amp. Let me check the wattage on that. And this isn't me plugging Thomas. Just so we're clear, guys, reviewers are way tougher on other reviewers when they release a product because they know better. You know what I mean? We don't let them slide if their product doesn't deliver. Let's go to the Galleon Audio website so I can speak factually here. Let's go to products. And here is the TS34. This is the one I have in for review. It's roughly the same price as the Prima Luna, like maybe $200 more. And I don't think it ships for free, so maybe like another $100, $150 there. So the output of Thomas's TS34 amp in Class A is 25 watts. Class AB, 40 watts. Thomas's TS34 amp watts, even though it's the same as the Prima Luna Evo 100, Thomas's, you would think, has double the power. It is more effortless. It can play louder. It holds its composure better. And I don't know why that is. You know what I mean? I might ask Thomas that question, but he might not answer because Thomas is very courteous. He's very respectful, and he would not want to speak poorly about a respected brand like Prima Luna to toot his own horn. So I'm not sure he'd want to answer that question directly, but I'll see if I can get an answer from him. So that's a tough question to answer, man. It really is, you know. There's a lot of low wattage amps that seem to have just tremendous current driving capability and can get plenty loud. But then there's some that can't. I don't know what it is. But for what you're doing, I'd say the brand matters more. And if you got, here, let's do this. If you've got a couple amplifiers in mind, let me know what they are. And if I have experience with them, I'll tell you if I was able to get them play loud or not, or how effortless they were, and maybe that'll help more. All right. Stefan Olsen, SVS SB1000 Pro. Oh, I already answered this question. Stefan Olsen says room is 480 square feet. What is that? Let me do some math here. That's like a medium-sized room. Yeah, it's not giant. It's definitely not small. You know what I mean? But yeah, give me a couple of amps you're in between. I'll let you know if I have an opinion. Paul Bickerton, I have the CSS2 TDX speakers in a large room powered by an old Yamaha AS700 for 2-channel listening. Should I upgrade my amp first or buy a DAC first? Have a budget of $2,000. I'm not familiar with that Yamaha amp. Let's look it up. Let's see what that thing does. Crutchfield's page came up first. That's who we're going to use. Good retailer, by the way, though, guys. I don't have any affiliation with them. Matter of fact, I tried to get review samples from them. They didn't even respond to me. But this is a good company to buy products from. I've bought quite a few products from them in the past. Okay, that Yamaha has 90 watts at 8 ohms. 105 into 6 ohms. They don't give a 4 ohm spec. What does this thing cost? I'm just bench racing here, guys. This is all just guessing, just so we're clear. Price isn't listed. So Yamaha amps, you know, they're only given a 6 ohm spec. That tells me they're worried about its current driving capability, possibly. The CSS speakers seem to really sound great on budget amps as long as they have strong power. So you don't necessarily need something expensive. But in my experience with CSS, the more solid power you give them, the more they're just like, let's go. The speakers are very powerful in terms of their bass. Their sound staging is absolutely ginormous. But in order to accomplish that in a small package, they're a little hard to drive. So I found listening from this amp when it was new, it looks like they were about $600, I think. So it's one of Yamaha's more entry level. So I think I'm correct in my guess that it doesn't have a lot of current driving potential. I would do an amp first. I would do something like an Emotiva TA2, the Outlaw RR2160, or if you want to go even warmer, because CSS is already warm, you can do the Iota VX SA40 I just reviewed. I've reviewed all three of these amps, and I'm going to give you a little Easter egg for anyone in this chat. In the description of the Iota VX SA40 video, I left the Easter egg. You could find an early link to the comparison video where I compare all three of those amps to each other. And knock yourself out. Check that out. Feel free to watch that video early. Those are all about $1,000. You said you got a budget up to $2,000. Kinky Studio EXM1 would probably just get the absolute ultimate and best out of those speakers. If you could swing that, that's a little more than $2,000. Okay, Yama's talking to someone else. Who else has got a question? Let's read through these. So Justin is saying he listens to music in a large room. He listens to electronic. I listen to a lot of electronic too. Cool. He's got a lot of dead zones for bass, a lot of nulls. Currently has a Speedwoofer 10S in one corner and a JBL LSR310 in the other corner. Thought about getting an RSL 12S, but I feel like I'll have the same holes in sound around the room. I'm certainly not an expert at dealing with bass nulls in large rooms, as I have a small room myself, but just based on the interactions I've had with other people and other reviewers that have dealt with that and have more expertise, the answer isn't a larger subwoofer, it's more subwoofers, right? Let me look up that JBL. I just want to make sure it's not causing more problems than it's worth. Not a fan of that. Not a fan of that at all. Not a fan of that. Let me just look at it a little bit more before I speak on this. It looks like it's a bandpass design. No, it's down firing with the front firing port. Okay. If it was a bandpass, I was going to be like, dude, just the group delay it's going to introduce is just going to be very problematic. It's a down firing with a front firing vent. Weird design. Let me look at its specs. Those things are, it's a pro audio sub. Pro audio subs are normally mid-bass monsters, but don't extend below 50 hertz. They just don't. Yeah, see, this is a 10-inch. It's vented, and it does not go below 27 hertz. And JBL doesn't even give us a frequency reference, so that 27 hertz could be minus 10 dB. In my experience, when a subwoofer company does not give you, or a speaker company does not give you the reference to roll off, it's usually minus 10 dB. So this subwoofer pretty much falls off a cliff after 35 hertz. If I were you, my goal would be to take that out of the system. Let me go back to your comment real quick. And I would add one or two RSL 10Es, okay? Because the 10E and the 10S tonally are nearly identical. The 10S just has a couple of more features, and it could get a little bit louder, but you don't have to worry about that because you're going to end up having multiple subs. So I would try to add two RSL 10Es. If you could do that and take the JBL out of the system, I could be wrong, but I have a strong feeling that the JBL is going to do more harm than good. Let me get some water while I read this next comment. Trent Walker, my ever confusing friend. Trent, I know you hear this every time, but the chat needs to hear it. Guys, for the longest time, I thought Trent Walker was one of my friends or two of my friends messing with me, because I have a friend named Trent Rivers and a friend named Brent Walker, and their two names combined is Trent Walker, but he's not my friend playing a trick on me. He's told me many times. Trent's question is, do you have any experience with high bias or pure Class A solid state amps like First Watt, Agers, Musical Fidelity A1, etc.? I don't. First Watt doesn't need any reviews. That's a very niche company that is focusing on like small batch, handmade, low volume, high quality products. They don't need reviews. Shit doesn't like to send review samples really. They've got a small group of reviewers they work with, and that's kind of it. And you know, the truth is, you know, they don't need any more reviewers. Their products sell really well. They don't need little Nemo propaganda with his little channel to promote them. They just don't need me, and that's okay. Musical Fidelity, I've never heard. I don't know them or how to get a hold of them, but I suppose I could ask Sean from Zero Fidelity to make an introduction. I know he's worked with them on a few occasions, and he's even though he doesn't really make a whole lot of content, he's always willing to help. He's actually the one that got me in contact with Iota VX for the new SA40. Also, he got me in contact with Outlaw for the RR2160, actually. Jazzbana says, I was late now. I'm watching at 2 times speed to catch up. Well, I hope YouTube doesn't turn my voice into a mouse. Sean B., why did Alvin and Denafrips break up? Good question. So, funny thing. The most random thing happened. So all my friends are out of town right now for a wedding that I wasn't invited to, because it's just, I have a big friend group, and we're not all as close. When friend groups become very large, there's going to be people that just fundamentally don't get along. So no hard feelings there, but all my friends are out of town. I had nothing to do this whole weekend. I got an email from Alvin. He's like, hey, I'm in California. You want to grab lunch? And I was like, what? Singapore and California are really far away. Holy crap. And we actually went to lunch yesterday, right? And look, I don't want to get into his business too much, and I didn't want to ask him a loaded question. So instead of asking him, hey, why did you guys break up? What happened? And he would probably answer my question, but I didn't want to get information from him that I felt like I would need to keep private. So I asked him in a way that I knew he would answer publicly, right? Like, hey, what do you love about Harmony and Live? What made you want to take on this brand, right? And he said, the modern features. You know, he said, we've received a lot of requests from customers who want remote controls. A display, a screen has been really important to a lot of our customers, you know, so that's important to him, right? As far as anything beyond that, I didn't want to get into his personal business. If I had to guess, I'd say it's something like this. The two companies really grew together a lot, you know what I mean? Denafrips was really small originally, Vinshine was really small originally, and together they both really elevated together. So I'd be willing to bet there's no bad blood. I'd imagine they both grew to the point that it was time to go their separate ways, is my guess. You know what I mean? That happens. That's a part of business, guys. Jazzbana, I would recommend amp upgrade for Yamaha 700. Yeah, definitely. Stefan Olson, here are my amps in mind. Was thinking Arkham SA30. I'm sorry, brother. I got no experience with either of those. He's asking about Arkham SA30 or NAD 389. NAD is another brand I have no experience with, and probably never will. It's owned by what seems to be a fairly large venture capitalist organization, and those guys have their heads shoved so far up their ass, like I have no desire to even like communicate with them. their pinky is up constantly, their nose is up in the air at everyone. They think they are like the king and queen of England or something. It's very off-putting, you know. And they wouldn't send me a review sample anyways. My channel is way too small for them, you know. Oh, Jazzman clarified. He suggests upgrading the amp, and he's saying he did himself. So he's speaking from firsthand experience. He went from a Yamaha 801 to a 2100. That's great. I love it when people speak from experience. It's very helpful, you know. It Hits Differently says, you've been to a number of audio shows. I've read elsewhere that the room acoustics in most rooms are pretty terrible. Has that been your experience? Is there any value in listening in these rooms? Very good question. I think in this hobby, there's a lot of exaggeration that happens. Sorry if I keep stretching and moving around, guys. I'm sitting on a bar stool, and bar stools just suck. They're not comfortable, but it looks good in my kitchen. That's where I am, by the way. Living room's behind me, kitchen's in front of me. Share open concept home. I think there's a lot of exaggeration that happens in the hobby. I think audiophiles can be, not all of us, but some of us can be very neurotic, you know, and just really over exaggerate things. Sure, a hotel room isn't perfect, you know, but a lot of these rooms sound pretty damn good, man. A lot of them do. I mean, they're bringing room treatment. They're setting them up the best they can. These are guys that have a lot of experience with setting up good rooms, you know. They're getting them to sound pretty darn good. Is it going to sound the same in your home, in your room? No, and it never will, but that's no different than a dealer demo, right? I think going to a hi-fi show can be a lot of fun. I like it a lot. I get to meet a lot of people. I love the social aspect of it. I'm a pretty social guy, though. Not all audiophiles are. What I found is audiophiles are either more like engineer-minded and just don't like people. They like things. And that I'm not saying all engineers are like that. It's a bit of a stereotype, right? Or they're big social butterflies with a lot of opinions, like me, you know. But I think there certainly could be value in going to a show and listening to so much gear. At minimum, it's a lot of fun. It could be a little expensive, just for reference. I do it a little bit fancy, okay, just to be honest, but I spend about $2,000 when I go to Axpona, just between everything. But I do upgrade my flight to first class, and that's not a flex. It's not like super expensive, that flight first class. It's not, I think it was like $350 more, which I'm not saying that's like nothing, but considering like the hobby we're all into and what first class upgrades usually cost, that's pretty inexpensive. I stay at a nicer hotel, and I do eat kind of like fancier food. I think it can be done for $1,200, but that's kind of about what you're going to be in it to go to Axpona, I think, if you're out of town. Oh, Yama was trying to say the text limit in the comments deleted half of his comments, so it didn't make sense. He was trying to say that AVR is not necessary unless you watch disc-based Blu-ray movies. Well, not really, bro. Not really, because let's say he's just like using one of the streaming services. You can stream like multi-channel. There is a multi-channel track in most streaming services. Now, I know, and Shane Lee, formerly of the YouTube channel Spare Change, has proved that the Blu-ray disc audio track is much higher quality, so it's not the same, but you can stream movies, and they do have multi-channel tracks. So an AVR could still be beneficial. And I think that's how a lot of home theater guys, the more like medium home theater guys are experiencing their multi-channel. Some people might say, hey, that's more the consumer way, and I wouldn't disagree with that, but I wouldn't get a stereo amp just because multi-channel streaming isn't the highest quality, or because they certainly do cut off a lot of the infrasonic bass information. Ted K. So, he said, give us a so. In my reviews, you guys know I'll talk, and I'll be like, so. And then another thing I do a lot is I'll be like, but. And in my older videos, I used to put up a little image of a cat butt. Yeah, that's definitely a speech pattern I have, and that's how I talk. You know what's funny is that bothers some people. Sometimes I'll get comments, and these are comments I'll delete because I don't want to see toxic comments, but some people will criticize my speech patterns. And I don't blame them because they might not realize this, but I don't want to get into work and what I do for a living, but part of my job requires an expertise of picking up on people's speech patterns and being aware of them. So it is something I'm intimately familiar with and painfully aware of. But everyone has a speech pattern. Everyone does. And I find it so bizarre that some people can get so irritated by the way I say so, or but, or I digress, or the way I go on tangents. It's so weird that people can get so... Recently I had a guy comment. Let me see if I can find it. This guy got so mad that I used the word spicy to describe the Bowers & Wilkins 607 S2. He said, you've used spicy 200 times. Can you use a more descriptive word that for what it sounds like? To which I responded to the guy. I could be a savage, I'm not going to lie. I said, brother, I said bright, aggressive, fatiguing, offensive, energetic, hot, forward side of neutral, treble quantity is high yet refined. I don't know if you're lacking in intellect or suffer from other problems, but how many more descriptors do you want? Like, I used so many descriptors, and in a whole like 15, 20-minute video, I said spicy a few times, and the guy just lost his mind. He got so upset, you know? All right, where did I leave off? That was a good question, Ted. I appreciate that. I love when I can see like audio files that have a sense of humor. I feel like a lot of us can be a dry bunch sometimes and forget this is all supposed to be fun. So I love it when I can see that someone's got humor. Even if they make fun of me a little bit, I don't mind. I think it's great. Yama says, I have over 140 original Blu-ray movies, and I compare the quality of Netflix movie audio and video quality to my Blu-rays, and it's not even close. Yeah, you're 100% right. It can be a really big difference. Blu-ray does sound substantially better. Shane Lee from Spare Change has shown the measurements. In some streaming versus Blu-ray content, the multi-channel effects are greatly reduced. In some of the comparisons, because it depends. Some of the streams are better than others. In some streams, there's hardly any bass at all. I just watched a movie recently on Netflix. It was an anime movie. Let me look this up. It was called Gundam Seed Freedom. I love anime and I'm a big Gundam fan. Okay, so don't judge me. And this movie streamed on Netflix had nothing below 100 hertz. Absolutely nothing. I thought maybe my subwoofer was disconnected or broke, or I was so baffled. I went downstairs because I was listening to it up here where I have the KEF KC62 behind the couch. So I went downstairs where I think I had either the Carbon Special or the Rhythmic FEX12 connected, and it was the same thing, no bass. Even the speakers sound so thin. And I'm like, dude, this sucks. Like, and there's a lot of action scenes in this anime. It's about giant robots and they fight each other and there's lots of explosions. So yeah, guys, Yama is definitely correct. And most of the guys that I'd say anyone who loves good sound quality and is into theater, most of those guys are buying physical media because it can be a substantial difference. It really can be. I'll go as far as to say the best stream multi-channel is probably equal to like a very poorly produced Blu-ray, So yeah, Yama's definitely right about that. Oh, there's more to his comment. To achieve that sound quality, your receiver has to be able to decode Dolby lossless codecs, which normal amps typically can't do. Yeah, no, I mean, I get what you're saying, but Yama, I still feel like your opinion is a little bit too black and white, bro. Um, not everyone wants like the ultimate experience. Some guys just want a little bit more immersion. Some guys just want a little bit more bass, a little bit of a fuller sound. They don't want it to, they don't need the full three-dimensional immersion. And that's like more the average consumer, sure. But there's plenty of guys that just have an inexpensive AVR, a couple of the Polk $69 speakers, 5 of them in their multi-channel, and they're very happy. They're very satisfied. I know this because I've received comments like this. You know what I mean? But yeah, I'd say for most, but I guess the argument would be those guys are perhaps not audiophiles. They're just looking for a little bit of a better theater experience. But if you're an audiophile, yeah, you're going to want physical media if you can, if you could do that. Absolutely. For the Blu-ray. Victor says, hey, pal, appreciate you answering my previous question about amps for the DWX speakers. I think I'm going to go with the Choco Ime, but if I do, could I hook up a REL T7X to it with no sub outs? Yes. Guys, what's funny? So Victor left a comment asking this question. He's like, hey, what do you think about amps for the DWX? And he said, hey, pal. He opened it the same way. Every time someone opens their question with, hey, pal, my brain reads it like with a thick New Yorker accent. And it's really funny to me. But it's like, it's just like saying, hey, bro, or hey, my man. So it's just slang. There's no accent to it, but my brain adds an accent to it when I read it. So yeah, bro, absolutely. In fact, when I had the Choco review sample, which I still to this day very much regret sending back and not buying for myself, the subwoofer I used about 90% of the time was the REL T7X. Yeah, absolutely. You can use it off the high level. You can use a single or you can use stereo pairs. It's a fantastic pairing. If your room is small, I think that's a fine combination. If your room is bigger, go for the T7X. You know what I mean? But the Zoo DWX is the one interesting situation where I would say it's okay to go with the 8-inch T7X despite the Zoo DWX having a 10-inch driver. Usually you wouldn't want to do that. Like if those were big giant towers, you'd want a bigger sub. But the Zoo has very linear bass, very linear. It almost seems like they pulled some bass out to keep that mid-range so open. So T7X, DWX, Choco. Good combination. Good combination. Planetary 13, compare and contrast F12 versus FVX12, please and thanks. I'm happy you added the please and thanks to that. I'm not very particular with pleases and thank yous. I don't really care about that. But when someone's question is so short and that's all they say, sometimes it kind of bothers me. So I appreciate the little added courtesy. So I own both. I've owned both the F12 SE and the FVX12 for a long time, and I have a small room. Let's remember that. In my small room, the FVX12 is better. If you're hunting low end, the FVX12 is better because being a vented sub, it's got a wider sweet spot. It's got a more effortless sound. It's a lot larger, right? And it's got that stronger low end because it's a vented sub. Does it sound as good as the F12 SE? Well, let's get one thing out of the way. The FVX12 sound quality is better than almost every other single subwoofer under its price. Whether it's sealed or vented, doesn't matter. The FVX sound quality is top tier. But when comparing to Rhythmic's own, also servo-controlled sealed subwoofer, yeah, the F12 SE, despite not being able to play as loud because it's smaller and sealed, despite not having as strong of a low end, it still extends super low. It's going to have more articulation in the leading edges, more bass resolution, fidelity, more nuanced detail, and things like that. So if the just ultimate best in bass fidelity is what you want, you may prefer the F12. If you're like, hey, I don't need the very, very, very best. I'm okay with just right below that if it gives me way more output and way more extension and thickness and fullness in the bottom end, then go for the FVX12. Between the two, I listen to the FVX12 way more than the F12, even though the F12 sounds better, because the FVX12 just has that more like thunderous bottom end. And to me, that's just extension to me is so much more enjoyable than a little bit more definition in the leading edges, especially when we're talking about something like the FVX12, which already outperforms most other brand sealed subwoofers. I hope that was a good enough answer. If not, or if you wanted to know more, let me know and I'll expand. James Derby says, hi Nemo, the Rega Aya speakers look super interesting. Rega makes speakers? Let's Google this. Let's Google this. Guys, I got to get up for a second. I turned my AC down because I usually get hot when I talk a lot. It is down way too much. I'm freezing my balls off. Hold on one second. All right. Your boy was freezing. I had it set to 73, which isn't that cold, but dude, I don't know what it is. The AC in my home hits so hard. Like when I stay at a hotel, I'll set it to like 69, but here like 73, 74 is so cold. You know what I'm saying? All right, let's look at Rega speakers. Maybe they've been making speakers for a while and I just didn't know, but let's have a look. Oh, it's a tower. So, I mean, you guys know I'm not going to be interested in towers, but let's see if they've got maybe they've got a bookshelf. You know what I mean? Let's see. Kind of interesting look. Almost looks 3D printed, the cabinet. I wonder what that's about. I'm not saying it is 3D printed. I don't know. You know what I mean? Just that like cross-hatch design. I'm reading the literature here. Let's read it together. After a decade of trials and development, the Rega Aya loudspeaker are born, housed in a unique UK manufactured cabinet molded from GRC glass reinforced cement. I wonder if that's a type of fiberglass. That is actually what it looks like. The glass fibers make up the construction, reduce the weight, whilst creating the structural integrity of this 2.5-way bandpass design. This technique creates the perfect loudspeaker enclosure that enhances performance whilst offering exceptional value for money. Thanks to the combination of the new enclosure, the drive unit configuration, the Aya loudspeaker deliver a tight, accurate bass response. Yeah, I mean, that's interesting. I don't know if I'd want to buy a fiberglass cabinet speaker. I'd want to know more about it. I'd want to see inside it. I'd want to know if it's got some kind of coating on the inside that will keep any glass fibers from coming out of the port. And maybe that's just me being a bit pedantic and unnecessarily worrying. Maybe I'm just ignorant of this manufacturing process and I'm being fearful unnecessarily. I could certainly admit that. I just don't know enough about it. It's interesting. My hat's off to them for trying something different. And a fiberglass enclosure isn't the craziest concept. It's not popular in home audio. For many years, it was very popular in high-end car audio, where someone was trying to reinforce like an OEM plastic enclosure. They would fiberglass it. So it is something that gets done, and it can be very rigid. But I don't think I'll review it because I don't really do towers. Hey, we got a super chat from Planetary, $5. Thanks, bro. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. You didn't have to, but I appreciate it. I'll always answer questions whether you guys pay me or not. You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. Look, if I had like 300,000 subscribers and I did a live stream and there was 2,000 people in it, I might have to only answer the questions that are super chats because I don't know if you guys have ever been in a stream like that. The chat moves so quick. It's impossible. It would take like 24 hours to get through everyone's question. It would be almost impossible. I might have to do that just as a way of filtering it. But for now, as long as the channel stays small, everything's for free and for fun. Mouse says, saw one AV Expo video featuring a theater room that sported 14 $10,000 subwoofers. Talk about exaggeration. Which ones? Which $10,000 subwoofers? That's crazy. I've never heard anything like that, so I couldn't even comment. That's crazy. Ted says, getting those new Arundels in for review when they come out, the 1528s. If they have a bookshelf, yeah. If they have a bookshelf, my Arundel reviews don't get a lot of views for some reason. I think the audiophile community very much views them as a theater brand. And I get that. I'll be honest, I kind of view them as a theater brand. I think they're trying to change that with the 1528. I don't know what the price is or if there will be a bookshelf, how much it will cost. If anyone knows, drop it in there. But I'd be open to it. Arundel's cool people. Dan V says, hi, Nemo. I'm looking for the best preamp that I can get under 1K. I'm running an Onkyo M5010 OSP P1 preamp, PSB Imagine B, SU1 DAC, or should I just run my Yamaha S301? What is this Onkyo? Let me look this up, bro. I don't think you told me what amp you're using, though. Oh, the Onkyo 5010 is a power amp. Okay. And you're using a P1 preamp. What is that? Is that another Onkyo? Let's see. So P1 preamp came up with nothing. Let's add Onkyo to the search. Onkyo, such a funny word. Onkyo. Did you guys' brains ever do that? You hear a word and you're just like, that's a funny word. Like my brain does that with bulldozer and sifter also. Those bulldozer, sifter, and Onkyo are three really funny words to me. Yeah, brother, I'm sorry. I don't know what that P1 preamp is, but I can still answer this question, and you're not going to love my answer. I don't have a lot of experience with preamps. I don't. I'm sorry. The only preamp I really reviewed around that price was the Denafrips. Let's check. I think it was the Hestia. Let's see what that thing costs now. Denafrips has changed some of their pricing. And guys, please don't ignore Denafrips just because them and Vinshine have parted ways. Their products are good. They were good. That's not going to change just because the two companies have parted ways, unless they start changing the products, I suppose. But everything I said good about their DACs. It's hard for me to say I still stand by them because all the DACs I've reviewed are technically discontinued now and replaced, so I'm no longer familiar with the current Denafrips sound, but I still love my Ares II. You know what I mean? I still do. Still a great DAC. I don't love their website. I will say that. I do not like the Denafrips website as it is right now. Denafrips definitely needs to fix that. Maybe they discontinued the Hestia. It was the Hestia I was thinking of. I don't see it on their website. I did a Control F. I didn't see it. Oh, here it is. $1,079 is what it looks like. Let's click on that. Yeah, we're in U.S. pricing. $1,079. Denafrips Hestia. That was a pretty good preamp. Low noise floor, good clean sound, good low volume performance. It is a purist piece, so I don't know if that's what you're looking for or not. Unfortunately, as we can see here, this is the Hestia 12th preamp. I have not heard the 12th. I've only heard the original one. Again, this is one of the problems Denafrips has. They change their products so often and so quickly. All my reviews become obsolete. My experience becomes obsolete, and I can no longer consult people on their products. But look, if the Hestia 12th is anything like the original, it should be pretty damn good. I don't imagine they'd make it worse. You know what I mean? It's just, I don't like guessing, you know? All right, where did I leave off? Crispy says, I picked up 2 Arundel 2S subs secondhand. Will there be much of a difference if I go for Arundel's towers, monitor, or bookshelf? I appreciate you and your vids. Love putting together some gunplay. Yeah. You know the model kits for Gundam? I did one a long time ago. It was a cheap one. And every time I picked it up to put another part on, another part fell off. And it was this never ending game of parts falling off and me trying to add new parts, and never again. I never built another one. I never did. I love the way they look though. So look, to answer your question, will there be much difference if I go Arendelle Tower, monitor, or bookshelf? I'd say it depends which one. Like personally, I'd rather have the 1723 1S bookshelf over the 1961 tower. Personally, I don't think the 1961 tower brings anything to the table to be a tower. Like it doesn't have much bass really. So like, why would I get a tower? You know what I mean? I'd rather have the higher sound quality of the 1723 1S bookshelf. But I'd say it's going to depend which tower and which bookshelf you're comparing it to. Their stuff has a similar sound, but to me, everything 1723 was a notable step up of 1961. Heavy Beats, still rocking my REL 1205 Mark I, thanks to you. Sounds really great now that I upgraded to the R3 Metas. Yeah, dude, I still have my 1205 Mark I also. In fact, it's the same subwoofer I sit on in every video. That's my chair in every video. That's a great sub. It is tonally so neutral. You can pair it with any speaker and it just doesn't matter. The darn thing is just an absolute champion. It can't play as loud as the new 1205 Mark II, but it is so tonally neutral, transparent, and invisible. It's like the textbook subwoofer in terms of like, you shouldn't hear the bass, you should feel the bass. The bass should sound like an extension of your speakers. It should make the speaker sound larger and fuller. It shouldn't impart any tonal characteristics, this and that. It was really fantastic at that. Todd T is saying, really? People comment on how you communicate? I'm not picking up on any issues there. Oh yeah, bro. Yeah, people get really pissed off. You'd be surprised how crazy people get. I had to ban at least 5 people from my channel after the Outlaw RR2160 video, because look, in the title, you know, I referred to it as a receiver, which it technically is, but when I talked about it, I said integrated amp. And people got so mad about that. They're like, this is a receiver, not an integrated amp. And I'm like, I tried to be reasonable with these people at first. And I'm like, well, you know, integrated amp means a preamp and a power amp housed under a single chassis. All stereo amps with volume control are integrated amps, right? That is not an incorrect way to say it. The Outlaw RR2160 has more features like a tuner. So people may call it a receiver as well, and that would be correct. Guess what? The Outlaw RR2160 also has a streamer built in. So if someone wanted to call it a streamer, that wouldn't be incorrect either. I think referring to it as an integrated amp or a full-featured integrated amp is plenty correct. But yeah, I had to actually like straight up block 5 people after that video. They were so upset. JR says, did you ever get a hold of Cerwin Vega again? Bro, I forgot. I'm sorry. I forgot to reach out to them again. I forgot. Let me send an email to myself. That's what I'm going to do. That way I remember. Yeah, sorry, bro. All right, I just emailed myself so I don't forget. Anyone excited about the new SVS subwoofers? So I think it's unlikely this group in here, because most of us are audiophiles, and it's highly unlikely most audiophiles are going to be using a 17-inch sealed or vented subwoofer. It's going to be pretty uncommon. I'm excited just because it's something new and cool, and I'm curious, you know, what they've done when more information becomes available. But the SVS Ultra series has never been a music subwoofer, and I feel very confident saying that. I don't think it's rude to say that. They are absolute LFE monsters. The outgoing PB16 Ultra was your typical extremely large, extreme duty vented subwoofer, meaning it was fairly narrow band. It was a monster below 40 hertz, and if you wanted it to be tactile, get out of here. If you wanted it to have really clear distinction in the leading edges, get out of here. That's not what it's for. It was a narrow band rumble monster with a very specific purpose in mind. You're never going to use that for music. And again, I'm not dogging it by saying that. That's a purpose-built design. That's not uncommon. When a subwoofer gets that large, you want it to really excel in one narrow area. You want it to rumble like nothing else, and that's what SVS did with the vented version. Uh, 902 Nick says, hi, I asked you last stream if I should get 2 more JL D110s and you laughed. So I bought a SVS PB16. I don't think I laughed at you though. I think I laughed because I love the idea of just getting more subwoofers. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure I laughed and I was like, I love that because I thought it was like an extremist thing. Yeah, look, dude, a PB16 Ultra is definitely going to rumble harder than a pair of D110s. Like it is. Victor says, funny you say that. I am a SoCal boy, born and raised, but I often get asked if I'm from New York sometimes. Maybe it's the hey pal. Dude, I'm telling you, it is. It's a very New Yorker thing, yeah. Or in another life, I was a New Yorker, possibly, very possible. Mouse C says rhythmic rocks. Absolutely, absolutely. Roof Pizza, my favorite username in all of YouTube history is Roof Pizza. I love it. I think it's a Breaking Bad reference. Don't kill me, but I've never seen the show, but I'm pretty sure that's a Breaking Bad reference. He says best value for money for 3 pieces. 3 LCRs are similar, 2 to 3K. Thanks. Again, bro, I'm not a theater guy, so the whole LCR thing, I'm just not gonna have a lot of experience with. Let me see if I can think of anything. 2 to 3K for all 3. I'm gonna be honest, Shane Lee from Spare Change is probably a better question to ask that question to. I would text him right now, but I'm using my phone for the stream. I don't even know, because nothing I review is really LCR, because that's usually like a MTM. I know Monacoustic is considering selling the Platamon as individuals so that they can be used as LCRs or even in 5-channel or more home theater, because they had some customers reach out and request that, and they, I can't remember what they ended up doing, but I think what they did is Monacoustic set up their own theater, and they were like, holy crap, the Platamon is insanely good for LCR. Nothing comes to mind for me. I'm sorry, I just don't have the data points. Mouse says my Rhythmic FV15 HB2 is absolutely fantastic, positively earth-shattering. It does take up some room though. Yeah, I mean that's a vented 15, my bro. Vented 15s are not small, but that FV15 HB2 is an absolute monster. That's the reason I haven't reviewed it. It's just too big, too heavy. But yeah, any single person I've ever talked to that owns one absolutely loves it. Feliciano says, great review on that Outlaw. I have a 2160 Mark II with an Ares 2 and Wim Pro and enjoy it very much. I have an itch to upgrade the streamer, but enjoy its sound, and it's hard to justify. Streamers are tough because most streamers under $1,000 have roughly similar sound quality. There are differences, but it's not a big enough difference where I'd suggest anyone spend money to get one thing or another. The biggest upgrade I found with streamers was actually using that LHY PSU kit from Vinshine Audio. It's the board for the Bluesound node plus the little power supply, but that's not that cheap, man. You know, a Bluesound node is $500. The power supply and the board are another $300, so you're going to be at $800. But that combination, I think, will outperform any streamer under $1,000. That's my guess. So that's what I would do. If you were looking for a better streamer, I'd get whatever the newest version of the node is that LHY has a power supply option for. Yama says, 2-part comment. Bro, I agree with you 100%. I was just trying to clarify what I meant when I said you don't need an AVR unless you obsess. Or, yeah, no, I get that, bro. I get that. Look, I'm not. It doesn't matter if we slightly disagree, bro. I ain't mad at you. You don't need to clarify nothing. I'm a pretty easygoing guy, man. I'm a pretty easygoing guy. Disagreement makes the world go around. Like, if we're 80% on the same page, that's good enough. You know what I mean? Mouse says Perlison D215 is $9.99 each. So there was 10 of them in that room. Holy crap. That's crazy. Yama says, if a 2-channel audiophile amp existed with HDMI EARC and Dolby, yeah, but that's not going to exist, bro. He's saying if there was a stereo amp with a EARC Dolby Atmos decoder, that would be an amazing product because discrete channels for movie watching is not as big of a deal as advertised. Yeah, no, I get that, but the consumer, you got to remember the consumer. The average consumer's brain is, they're gonna think it's stupid because they're gonna judge it and think, why would I buy a amp that can do multi-channel processing but it only has 2 channels? Like, they wouldn't understand the product. Guys, I'm gonna say this and I hope no one takes offense. The average consumer is very stupid. They really are. They really are. I'm not saying you guys are stupid. I don't think that. I think most audiophiles are a little bit more intelligent, and that's why sometimes we can become a little neurotic or pedantic and such. But when these amplifier companies are making their amps, yeah, of course they have the audiophile in mind, but they also have to have the average consumer in mind. The average consumer probably makes up like half the sales. I don't think 100% of the people that buy a Iota VX are balls to the wall audiophiles. I think some of them are just regular guys looking for better sound. You know what I mean? I get your point, but the problem with your suggestion is it requires the customer to have specialized knowledge and experience, and that makes for a tough sales pitch for any company to want to make a product like that. I'd use it though. I'd like it. What is this thing? Get out of here. Get out of here. There's this like stupid pop-up that YouTube chat tries to pop up to like make me assign someone as a moderator, and I don't want to do it. Hi Nemo, have you experienced with Magnet speakers? Man who's asking this question. Just got the Magnet Monitor S30 for a budget speaker. They are better than the ELAC B6.2s. Yeah, I'm not surprised. I think ELAC's a brand that's a little bit overhyped. You know what I mean? Their stuff's not bad, but you have to connect it to kind of expensive amps for it to sound its best. Maybe close to the Q3030 coming from Hecko Core. Magnat's made by Hecko? I'll be honest, I never cared about Magnet because I thought it was kind of like ugly and they don't seem to have a US distributor, but if it's made by Hecko is really good stuff. So that might change my opinion. Choplin says, Dune buggy is funny to me. Oh yeah, that's a good word. Dune buggy, that's a funny word. I will give you that. Good find. Let's see if I could say this username. Masij Moranowicz. What are the best of the best bookshelf speakers for 3D depth imaging and soundstage? Probably something so expensive I haven't heard it. As far as, if we're really talking best of the best, right? Holographics are usually more of a function of the amplifier in the room. So you'd want to put a lot of money into the amplification. What I've found is holographics and amplification, it's almost like very price related. I don't know why that is. It's annoying that it's like that. There's always going to be some standouts like the Choco E-May, the Iota, sorry microphone, or like the Iota VX SA40. Those brought good holographics, especially the Choco. That was kind of a shocker. Speakers and holographics are not something I generally notice because most speakers' holographics seem to be directly tied to the amp or the room. Victor, hey pal, sorry, one more question. Can I connect a Bluesound for a DAC and streamer and turntable to the Choco without needing a preamp? No, unless your turntable has its own built-in preamp. The Choco does not have, moving magnet or was it moving cartridge? Preamp built in. It does not have any phono function built in. So your turntable must have its own preamp. If it does, yes, you could do that. H. Scott, another longtime subscriber, says, Be aware that Denafrips preamps don't provide gain. They are just a buffer basically, which is great if you don't need gain, but if you do, they're a no-go. I do not know enough about that topic to understand what that means. I used them with my Kinky Studio mono blocks and I didn't notice anything, but yeah, maybe that sounds important. I wish I knew more about it so I can expand on that, but that does sound important. I was not aware of that. RMZ Dan says, doesn't matter what bookshelves you get, anything below 5K made by a major brand is most likely going to have cheap crossover parts unless you buy direct from manufacturers. I don't know if that's true, and I don't know if that matters. I think Danny Ritchie has propagated this belief that cheap crossover parts are bad in an effort to sell his more expensive crossover parts to make everything measure flat. I've said it before, I don't like Danny, I don't like his message, and I don't agree with it. So perhaps I'm a bit biased in this, but Harbeth, how about Harbeth? I believe the owner of Harbeth has said many times that he uses cheap crossover parts because he's felt they sound better or just as good. So, and look, that's not to say more expensive crossover components don't do anything. I'm not saying that, but Harbeth, a speaker that's been very loved by many people for many years, was known to use crossover components that were not the most expensive by any means, off-the-shelf components. So I think you're just repeating something, and I don't mean to argue with you, RMZ Dan or RMZI Dan. It's just we just have a different opinion here, and that's okay. It's okay for men to disagree, but I think that this is a phrase that is being repeated too much in the hobby, and people are getting too obsessed with what's inside. Like I reviewed this speaker, I can't remember what it was, and someone's like, open it up inside, it looks like crap. And I'm like, who cares what the inside of the speaker looks like? He's like, the wires they use are junk. I'm like, who cares? The speaker sounds great. Why does that matter? If the product sounds great, I don't care what it's made out of personally, as long as it's gonna last, you know? Ted K, what are your thoughts on owning bookshelves instead of towers regarding sound? Don't have a lot of experience with towers, but size matters. It does. I like bookshelves for the aesthetic, and my room isn't that big. But bigger speakers, not always, because again, the Arundel 1961, that was a tower. I will happily take any $2,000 bookshelf speaker over that. But larger towers usually are going to sound more effortless. They're usually going to have a much bigger sense of scale. So if you're looking for the bigger sense of scale and you don't mind the size of large towers, I mean, that's one of the reasons people go for large towers. "902 Nick says, laughed with me is what? What are you referring to? I think he's referring to the previous comment. Laughed with me. Oh yeah, okay, I understand now. Andrew Peel says, hi mate, greetings from Australia. What's up, Andrew? By the way, I'm curious, if any of you guys are from very obscure places, drop it in the chat, I'd be curious. Mostly outside of the US though, is what I want to know. Unless like you're in North Dakota, that's pretty obscure. Ashish Chan says, hi Nemo, any plans to review Ares 15th version? How does live differ in sound compared to your Ares 12? No, I don't plan to review the new Ares 15th for a few reasons. One, I don't have any communication with Denafrips. All my review samples came through Vinshine. I could probably email Denafrips and try to make communication with them, but it's a little bit frustrating for the reviewer when the model keeps changing. Like I reviewed Ares 2 originally, and then Ares 12th anniversary came out, and then Ares Enyo came out, and then Ares 12-1 came out, and then Ares 15th came out. It's too much. It's too much. My review is obsolete now. My review of the Ares 2 is obsolete. My review of the Ares 12 is obsolete. I do this work to try to promote their brand, you know, but now I don't know anything about their brand because their product changed. Same with the Pontus 2. Same with the Venus 2, you know. Even when I reviewed the Pontus 2, it just had its name changed. It was Pontus. And then, like, I was talking about getting a review sample, and then the 2 came out. So I don't think any reviewer wants to review a brand that keeps changing the product, because what is that going to do? Like, okay, for 6 months I can talk about it, and then I can't talk about it anymore because it's different now. It makes it feel like my effort's wasted. If I can see them go back to being a little bit more stable with their product releases, and less seemingly neurotic, and just shooting from the hip with these product releases, I love the sound of their products usually. But to answer your question, how does the Ares 12 sound compare to the live DAC? No comparison. The live harmony is more on par and competing with Venus 2, especially in the mid-range where I feel like it slightly is outperforming the Venus 2. So the same differences the Venus 2 would have against the Ares 12. You know what I mean? Yeah, the price difference is substantial. It's no surprise. Oh my God, dude. Okay. Bardo gave me a great idea in the last stream to name the stream Streamo Propaganda. And I said I would do it. And I didn't forget, actually. I just couldn't remember what it was. When I was setting up the stream, I'm like, what was it? And I couldn't remember, so I didn't do it. I'm sorry, bro. I'm going to do it next time, though, I swear, if I remember. Andrew Peel says, any experience with Perlison subs? This might sound silly, but I find them to take the best from Rel and JL. Perlison D15's owner. No, bro, they're way too heavy. They're way too heavy. They're way too heavy. I can't do it. Let's look them up. I want people to see what I'm talking about here. I know they're monsters. I know Shane loves them. You know what I mean? The push-pull dual 15s, like super cool stuff. But guys, I can't be reviewing products that are so heavy. I can't. £202, bro. Get out of here. 202 pounds? I can't review that. There's no way. There's no way. I'm going to break my back, bro. How strong do you guys think I am? It's impossible. It's impossible. No way. You know? No way, bro. I'd love to hear it. And here's the unfortunate thing. The dealer, the master distributor for Perlison is it High Fidelity Distribution? Let me see. It's something Fidelity Distribution. Anyway, the dude is super cool. He's the nicest guy in the world. His name is Eric, and he's like more than happy to send me a review sample. We get along great. The man is awesome. So like I have access to these large Perlison subs, but I told him, I'm like, brother, it's a bummer because like I like you. I like your brand. I like your company. I just can't review something that big, man. I like over 200 pounds, man. Jeez. All right, I got to look up the distributor now. I got to know who it is. Fidelity Imports. That's who it is. Fidelity Imports. Great distributor and dealer. All right, let's go back to the chat. Hecko and Magnat, Manu saying this, Hecko and Magnat are under the same house here in Germany. If you write to mail to Hecko, Magnat will answer. I wonder if that's just distribution channels, you know? Neither brand really has representation in the United States, and I'm not sure why. Manu says the look and build quality is way better than Hecko. I disagree. The build quality and the aesthetics of Hecko, in my opinion, have been quite high. I know there was one reviewer that had a bad experience with the Salon, but I think he just got a bad pair, and I think he should have returned those and gotten a new pair under warranty, because my cabinets are beautiful, perfect. So, Mr. Moronkowick says, thanks. So what speakers with the best 3D imaging and holographics you know and recommend? I don't know, bro, because I don't think about speakers that way. It's very rare that when I'm auditioning speakers, I think of holographics, because it's so tied to the room and the amplifier usually. The Totem Bison, I haven't put out that review yet, but that was one speaker that I did notice. No matter which amp I used, it was fairly holographic, and that really impressed the heck out of me. Outside of that, it seems to be just speaker amp synergy and the amp itself and the room and room treatment. Treating the first reflection points is going to be the most important thing. Some speakers are flat. I can tell you some speakers that are totally flat. Vocal, usually crazy imaging and detail, not a lot of depth. Just not a lot of depth, right? Whether it's the Aria, the Cora, the Canta, not a lot of depth. And you do need depth to have holographics. I'm sorry, bro. I'm not trying to dodge the question. It's just not something, it's not a characteristic that I have found to be strongly related to speakers on their own, regardless of amplification. And almost 90% of it's room and amplification in my experience. Jonathan Moore, sup, Brosophus? Love the channel and the reviews. What's up, man? I appreciate you. I like the Brosophus. My friend group does, we say stuff like that where we just kind of like make up words like brosif. Guvin, hey Nemo, great to see you here today. Hey, thank you. Happy to see you guys too. Jonathan Moore, have you reviewed a musical fidelity? No, never reviewed musical fidelity. Maybe one day. Zero Fidelity, I'm sure, will put me in contact with him if I ask. He's very kind. But I've just never thought about it, honestly. Honestly, I forget they exist. That's what it comes down to. I forget musical fidelity exists. But it seems like people really like it. Bow and H, I got a deal on some Fritz Reb 7 SEs, and they sound leagues better than my Sonos Faber or Dyne Audio. John Heiler is such a nice dude. Who's John Heiler? Is that Fritz's real name? Is it? I didn't know that. If it is, yeah, dude, Fritz speakers rock. Like, they absolutely rock. I love the Carbon 7s. They were so good. Guvin says, I just bought a Kef R7 and plan to use my Arkham SA20 with it in a year. I also plan to buy a NAD C298 if that would make sense. What do you think? Again, guys, unfortunately, NAD is not a company I have familiar with and probably never will. They seem to be run by venture capitalists, and my channel is way too small for them to care about. And I definitely feel like they look down on me, and that doesn't bother me. I don't care. I'm not offended by it, but it does create an aversion where I'm like, why would I want to review your products if you think you're so fancy, if you have you're so pompous, so arrogant? You know, I don't care to work with brands like that. By the way, they also handle PSB and Bluesound, so that's why I don't review any of the new Bluesound products or PSB products. It's all the same group. I can't remember what it's called. I think it's called the Lindbergh Group or something like that. It's even like a pompous name, you know. Constantine says, hi, Nemo, greetings from Austria. Hey, Austria, what's up, man? What's up? He said, really enjoy your reviews. Keep it up. Thank you, man. I will. Mousy says, there were 14, geez, not 10, 14 of the flagship Perlisons, 8 across the front, 6 on the rear, 42,000 watts of boom boom at the bargain price of 140 grand. Yeah. It probably puts a real theater to shame at that point, I'd imagine. Andrew Peel says, go for the Perlison R series. Perlison R210, much smaller and lighter than my D15s. Same tech. Yeah, bro, it's still really heavy. It's still really heavy. Let's look it up. Let's look it up. I don't think you guys realize how heavy some of this stuff is. I don't think you guys realize this stuff is not light. The R210, I mean, it's a push-pull configuration, dual 10s, thick cabinet. That's 96 pounds. That's still a heavy sub. It is technically under my 100-pound weight limit. Maybe, bro. Maybe. I don't know. How much does that thing cost? Let's see. I can't see it. I hate it when it's hard to see the price of stuff. Looks like $5,000. It's not cheap. Doesn't look cheap though. My room might be too small, honestly, for a subwoofer like that, but maybe really small, maybe in the future. Where did I leave off? Okay, Manu says Wikipedia says Hecko was a brand under Magnet till 2008. Both are now under Vox International. Okay, so they have the same parent company. Yalma says Perlis and Slogan, bro, do you even lift? Pretty much. Middle Earth says IIWI. And by the way, did you guys know what that stands for? I didn't know this for the longest time. IIWI stands for Is It Worth It? Which I thought was a really smart name for an interesting channel, for a review channel. So IIWI and Dharma Bar both have reviewed the Ares 15th. Short version is an improvement, but I would not run out and replace my 12th if I owned one. Those are two good DAC reviews in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, like I said, dude, I don't think Denafrips products are going to be bad all of a sudden just because Vinshine Audio is not distributing them. I'm more concerned with like them just continually changing stuff, but their stuff's always sounded good. I'd imagine their future products and current products sound good too. You know, they know how to make a good product. I think they just struggle with like being impulsive. It seems like. Middle Earth says he just got a Hollow Cyan too, which is the same price point. Works well for me. Yeah, everyone seems to love the Hollow stuff. I've never heard it, but it looks great. A little too stylized for my taste, but it does look awesome, and I've heard they sound great too. Oh, Manu says he meant the opposite, that he felt the Hecko build quality was better than the Magnet. That makes more sense, yeah. Bardo says, what are the first reflection points? So the first reflection point is going to be, imagine, here, let me look at the camera so I can make sure you do this. Let's say, trying to think how I can do this in a way that's like visual. Let's try it like this. Let's say I'm in the listening position and my speakers are over here, right? My two fingers are the speakers. They're up against the main wall, and I'm in the listening position, right? When those speakers project sound, the sound is going to go, right? Oh, let's just do fingers. You see that? Index finger's crooked. I don't know why it's more crooked than this one. Anyway, the sound is going to go out and hit the wall next to it and bounce into my ear. Some of the sound is going to do that, and then some of the sound is going to come straight to my ear, right? But the sound that goes out, hits the wall, and then bounces to my ear is called the first reflection. That is the first and strongest reflection audiophile experiences. So you get acoustic panels, say, about right here. You know, if the speaker's here, you get acoustic panel kind of in front and off to the side of the speaker, and it absorbs that first reflection. So the speaker's sound goes like boom, hits the absorber, and then boom, doesn't travel to my ear. This part doesn't happen. It's not traveling to my ear anymore, so I'm hearing more direct sound from the speaker. A little bit tough to show that in a live stream. I hope that made sense. The easiest way to find your first reflection point is sit in the listening position, have a friend, girlfriend, wife, or one of your kids hold a mirror, line it up against the wall, and once you could see the speaker in the mirror, that is your first reflection point. So if it's the right side speaker, mirror across the right wall until you can see the right side speaker, first reflection point. That's where you're going to put your absorber. If you keep going to the point you see the other speaker, you see this speaker, the left speaker, that's your second reflection point. Also important, not as important. Hope that helps. Ed says, hey, Nemo, how are you? Your last review about the IOTA VX, owned by Hi-Fi Pilot, German seller, with HDMI ARC is €9.99 in Germany with shipping and tax. Would you say it's one of the best amp for EU customers? I think so. You know, there's a lot of amps I haven't heard, but I'm familiar with, like the Audiolab stuff. I know a lot of people love, but the Audiolab sound is a lot like the Emotiva sound. I like the IOTA VX sound a little more personally. I'd say it's probably one of the better options, man. Like the damn amp was good, bro. It was good. I know some people, you know, don't trust reviewers a lot, but I think most people know, at least in live streams, we get pretty candid. We will speak very freely because it's a smaller audience. But no, the IOTA VX SA40, everything I said in the video, like it was not overhyped, man. Like I really felt that way. I think it's between those three. It like the tonal differences are what's the most important between those three. You know, TA2, R2160, and SA40. The tonal difference are the biggest differences. But if someone asked me, like, push come to shove, which one had the best treble refinement, just sound quality overall, you had to pick one. We're splitting hairs a little bit because all three are good, but it would be the SA40. Where did I leave off? James Robinson. Anyone to recommend a price-appropriate streamer with DAC for a Cronus Magnum 3 and Golden Ear Triton 1 system? I love full rich sound and like detail. I'm not familiar with any of those products. I'm sorry. I don't even know what would be price appropriate. Sean B says, my guess is Alvin got upset at Denafrips for undercutting them with cheaper Ares on AliExpress. I didn't know about that, but if that happened, I would imagine that would be frustrating. I don't think that if that happened, that's not cool. I didn't know about that. I would imagine also making DACs for another company that were super similar under the Musician brand was, you know, when I saw the Musician brand come out, I was like, that's kind of weird. But I don't know, because again, like, Alvin's a really nice guy. I didn't want to pressure him. I didn't want to press him or ask any loaded questions, so I didn't. But if Denafrips was selling their own DAC on AliExpress for less and undercutting their own distributor, that's a big problem. That's very bad business. You should not do that. Good for watch. What's up, dude? He says, just wanted to say hi. Also, I have a question. I bought these MoFi SourcePoint 10s for a good deal. One of them still unboxed. I've tried everything to sell them, including auctioning on Koenig Audio Mart for $2,400. I don't understand. What's the question, bro? You're telling me you bought them, but you only took one out of the box. I don't get it, bro. Why? Did you get them at a good deal because you thought you could like make money on them, or did you just listen to one? I'm so confused, man. Oh, any suggestions is your question on how to sell them? I mean, if they're not selling, the price is too high. That's usually what that means, bro. For one reason or another. Also, the economy's not in the strongest place, so people are looking for more of a deal. Let me see what those darn things cost. MoFi, SourcePoint 10. All right, looks like Upscale Audio sells them $3,000 a pair. $2,400 just might not be enough of a deal. I'd say if you price them at like $2,000, $1,000 off. So this is my opinion. I always think used gear should be around 30% off. That's what I think, starting. So right now you're at 3,000. What is that? Yeah, you're at 20%. That's not a big enough discount. I think If I was a buyer for the speaker, I would think, okay, it's 20% off, but they're used. I feel like I could just wait for a sale. Maybe I won't get 20% off, but I'll get a new set. I think your price is too high, bro. When I'm shopping in the used market, I want to see 30 to 50%, honestly, depending on the age and condition of the product. That's just me personally. NC, what's up, man? Another longtime subscriber says, at this point in time, there is a lot of audio to offer at every budget, new and used, good stuff. I just need to grow interest among people. I'm not sure who you're referring to, but let me read the rest. Seem there are two strategies to audio. One, plan and build improvements to products over several years versus two, make incremental adjustments every year with new models and see what sticks. Okay. I don't know if those are the two strategies. I haven't seen any other brand make that many incremental changes. It does seem to be more common with the Chinese brands that make the inexpensive stuff. And while Denafrips is a Chinese brand, they don't make necessarily inexpensive little like $100, $200 items to be making those annual changes. And I think that's the problem. I think if they were making DACs that were in the neighborhood of $100 to $400, an annual update, incremental change would be okay. But when you're making DACs that are, anywhere from $699 to $5,000 plus, I don't think the annual incremental changes will be accepted well by the market, unless it's like a software change that anyone can experience, like the firmware, Damn, we've been doing this for 106 minutes. I didn't even realize that. Serge says, what it do? Love that you do these streams. Looking to upgrade again and get into some benchmark gear. Probably not your sound preference, but do you have an opinion on their gear? I've never heard it, bro. I've never heard Benchmark. I know they've been around for a long time. Serge also says, when you say benchmark, I don't know, are you referring to the brand or more like, are you saying like reference quality? Anyway, it says Emotiva DR1s, Emotiva Pre, PS Audio DAC, Rebel, F228B, Eversolo, and A6 Streamer. You're building a very analytical system with that list, my man. I hope that is the sound you want. That is a very detail-first system. That is, everything in that list is analytical. Emotiva, analytical sound. PS Audio DAC, honestly, not so sure. Rebel, analytical sound. Eversolo A6 Streamer, analytical sound. I don't know if I would do that. That to me, that's a lot like running my Platimon with my Kinky Studios. Both are analytical. And it's like fun for a while, but I wouldn't want that for my only system. I prefer to run my Platimons with something like the Brunoco Terra, the Choco Ime, my Hagel H190, something a little warmer and smoother. Yeah, dude, you're going all in, hyper detailed analytical. So you might be missing some richness, some warmth, tonality, and such. Young old dude says, what do you use for regular everyday TV streaming such as NVIDIA Shield, Apple TV, internal TV, PS5? Great question, bro. So I've got an LG OLED in all my rooms. I have the C1 here in my living room, the C3 downstairs, and an A2 upstairs in my home gym. And the onboard software on the C1's a little slow. The C3's a little quicker. Either way, the problem with the onboard software is they don't usually have all the apps. Like when I watch anime, I use Crunchyroll, and Crunchyroll is not available on the LG App Store. So I use a Roku. And the reason I use a Roku is I used to use the Amazon Fire TV, but then I started to feel like, dude, this thing just has like too many advertisements. It's really annoying. I want a more simple user interface. So I looked up what the Roku interface looks like, and I was like, that's a lot more simple. I like that. I'd never heard it. I'd never used it. I just bought one. I liked it. And now that's the streaming stick I use in all my rooms. The remote's small. It works. Like, I think they're all the same shit. You just have to pick the one that has the user interface you like, Let me see. I think I missed a question. Let me check here. Planetary 13, describe how bass traps affect room sound. Thanks. Oh, low battery warning, 20%. So not much time left in the stream, guys. My phone battery dies pretty quick because I have the old iPhone 13 mini. I promise I'm going to buy the new iPhone as soon as it comes out. I've just been waiting for that, but my battery has been severely degraded. So I'm going to try to talk quick. So bass traps, how they affect sound. So this is a little bit of a tougher conversation, but bass traps, do not make the mistake of assuming they are only for bass and they only affect bass. They're still absorbers. They're still going to absorb broadband. They will impact imaging and holographics and things like that in a positive way for the most part, as long as they're placed correctly. So that was the first big surprise that I experienced when I added bass traps in my room. Another thing they do is they serve to trick the subwoofer in layman's terms into thinking the room is a little bit bigger. So you're going to get a little bit more fullness in the lower end. You're going to get a little bit less ring if your room has any ringing issues. It's just going to dampen that, because here's the idea. In a perfect world, right? Everyone has a Trinnov with waveforming technology set up. The bass comes to you, you experience all of it, it hits the back wall and disappears. That's the perfect setup. It's almost impossible to achieve unless you have a Trinnov with waveforming. So instead, us audiophiles use bass absorbers. So the bass comes to me, it hits me, I get all of it, and what hits the back wall, a lot of the problematic frequencies are absorbed, so they don't just like ring back and forth in the room. That's the kind of layman's terms explanation of that. Yama says, you said you heard stealth acoustic speakers before and they sounded good. I don't know what you're talking about, bro. Stealth acoustics? I don't know what that is, man. Either I'm forgetting or you got me mixed up with someone else. I can't recall stealth acoustics or who that is. NC says, meant people using only their phones, soundbars, Bose machines, etc. Not everyone even knows how good 2-channel stereo can be. Oh, for sure, man, for sure, yeah. I got friends they'll buy like a $1,500 soundbar setup. Then they'll come to my place and they'll listen to my little tiny speakers I got on the media console, and they're like, dude, why does your shit sound so much better? I'm like, well, my little speakers happen to be like fairly expensive, but even a set of RSL $100 speakers on that console with that cheap $100 RSL amp will sound better than most soundbars. It really will. Victor says, sorry, I had to step away because I'm doing work in my studio. Do you leave your live streams up so I can circle back to where I left off? Yes, I do. Yes, I do not take them down. I leave them up, and you guys are welcome to watch them at your leisure. Listen to them in the background while you're cooking a meal, doing a workout, whatever you want to do. I definitely leave them up. Ed says, yeah, you're right. Do the same. Used but like new condition needs to be at least 35% off via secondhand. Yeah, so Ed's agreeing with my opinion on the pricing of used gear that Yama asked about. Ed says he feels it needs to be at least 35% off on secondhand platforms. And yeah, he's saying he just saw the Enyo 15th for, okay, no. So Ed, you're saying you saw the Enyo 15th on AliExpress for €700. That is the price of the Enyo 15th. The Enyo is $699. They changed the price of it about a month or two ago, I think. It's because the Enyo still uses the old case, that's stamped steel, so it's cheaper to make. That is the full price. So while it is on AliExpress, it is the full price at least, but still, if they were even selling it at full price, it's still not ideal for the manufacturer to compete with their own master distributor and sell product, right? It's not right. JP, what's up, brother? He says, regarding your comments on the secondhand gear, quite often you can get 20% discount or close to it just by emailing audio shops directly asking what their best price would be. Yeah, I didn't want to get into that, but you're not wrong. You're not wrong. I know a lot of people that emailed a certain vendor about a certain subwoofer after a sale ended months ago, and they're like, hey, I really want to buy this subwoofer. When are you guys going to run a sale again? And the guy said, I could do that for you right now. Let's go. You know? So yeah, look, closed mouths don't get fed. You got to ask. You know, there are deals to be had. Always remember this, guys. The manufacturer to master distributor to dealer to retail sales channel model is built with some negotiating sales and discounts in mind. Not every product, some products may have fixed MSRP and may not allow for sales and discounts, but it can be beneficial to ask the question. Jazzabana says, is the new iPhone coming out tomorrow? I believe they're announcing it tomorrow. My guess is it'll be announced tomorrow. Either pre-sale will be available immediately, or in 1 week, pre-sale will be available. I think that Apple will allow you to pre-sale immediately. I think it'll be open immediately because the economy's not too hot, and I think they want to spark those sales quickly. That's my guess. I could be wrong. Johnny says, here from Finland. Hey, what's up, brother? Can you please review the Quad Vena to play? It's about 1K USD. It's made by the same company as Audiolab. Let me look it up. So Quad doesn't have much representation in the United States. So like some of these brands that are popular in Europe, they're tough to get here. This is a cool looking little amp. Inexpensive too. Sells in England for about 600 pounds sterling. Looks cool, but yeah, Quad has hardly any representation here. I don't even know how to get a hold of it, brother. Oh man, one of my other my favorite YouTubers is live also. There's a video game channel, Eric Landon. Yeah, I can't get Quad. I'm sorry. Middle Earth says, as to used gear in general, if you want to move Nemo, that was some good pricing advice. Yeah. If you want to sell stuff, 30 to 50%, usually they go quick. Victor says, I have the LG OLED. Software isn't the greatest, but the best picture I've found on any television. Incredible cinema quality. Strongly agree. There are brighter OLEDs, but in my opinion, the brightness contest is ridiculous. I think when a TV has specular highlights that are so bright, I think it looks fake. I don't like that. So I actually like my LG C1 more than my C3 because my C1 doesn't get as bright. But, I just turn the OLED backlight and brightness down on my C3 to match my C1. I'm not a big fan of the ultra bright like Samsung S90C style OLED. It starts to pierce your eyes because the whole part of like OLED, in my opinion, is how easy it is on your eyes. Whereas LED is a little bit rough on your eyes by direct comparison. And these hyper bright OLEDs like the Samsung S90C, they look super impressive, but they're hard on my eyes, much like bright LEDs are. Ken Lane, $20 super chat. Thank you, brother. Nemo, thanks for the info on the RSL amp. The thing cooks. Yeah, dude, listen, that little RSL $110 amp is crazy good for the money, guys. It competes with amps that are $500 easily. The only difference between like a $500 or $1,000 amp and the RSL IA 255.1 in sound quality is the mid-range is just not as expansive. Look, it's $110. It's okay. It's not going to have the biggest stage or the most expensive mid-range, okay? But the sound quality, man, for $110, it's crazy. It's so good. Young old dude says, yeah, dude, don't sleep on Roku. I have a Roku Ultra. Yeah. He likes the NVIDIA Shield Pro also. I haven't tried it. I'm sure it's good though. Garth Brownlee says, hey man, apologies if you have already answered this question, but I'm wondering if you have ever heard BK. Nope, I have not heard BK electronic subwoofers. I tried to get a review sample. I asked them a couple of questions just to try to like open the conversation. They responded to my emails. And I wasn't trying to like angle them or anything. I wasn't sure if I even cared to review it. So I asked them a couple of questions to see if I was interested. Once I realized I might be interested, I said, okay, cool. Hey, listen, I run a YouTube channel. What does the possibility of a review sample look like? You know what I mean? I think I might have even offered to pay the shipping cost. I can't remember. Ghosted immediately. No more responses. I sent 2 or 3 more follow-up emails. No responses. They did not want to deal with me at all. Trent Walker, I called Safe and Sound HQ and Audio Advisor when I was shopping for an amp to see if they could give me a deal, and they both told me to kick rocks. Yeah, maybe it's more of a thing for speakers and subs, you know what I mean? Here, look, I'll say this. Try Autorama. Try Autorama, because here's the thing, they're not supposed to. They're not supposed to. You know what I mean? But try Autorama. Try being more coy, you know? Try just being like, hey, I really want to buy this thing, but like, you know, I'm just wondering if it's going to go on sale anytime soon, you know? Economy's not doing so hot. Savings would help the missus approve my purchase. Sometimes being more coy helps get things going. Audiophiles are a strange bunch. I've noticed very few audiophiles are very direct, right? Which bothers me because I communicate very directly. Most audiophiles, though, it seems like a little bit around the bush. Conversations is more comfortable for them. So I would try that maybe. Or a local dealer. I think a local dealer in person, you're more likely to get what you want or closer to it. Yama says, nah, bro. I'm sure it was you a long while ago, but maybe there was a miscommunication. When I said Stealth Acoustic, it was probably registered in your mind as some other brand. Google them if you can. Dude, I swear I've never heard of Stealth Acoustics. What is this? Invisible speaker? Oh, bro, I think I saw it at, not Expo, at the show that's out here. I was like in and out of the room so quick, bro. I think if this is the brand, I think it is. I was in and out of the room so quick, I can't like really have an opinion. Gareth Brownlee dropping £12 sterling super chat. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. This is for the Heco Salon Rev 3 video. I could never have heard of, I would have never heard of them and would have missed out on this wonderful speaker if it wasn't for you. Thank you. Brother, I'm just happy you love them the way I do. I still own that speaker. I still love it. Despite owning more expensive gear, I still throw that speaker up on the stands from time to time because I want to listen to them because I love them so much. It really is a hidden gem. And it's such a shame the speaker is not more popular, you know, because it's really good. It really is. Where did I leave off? Guys, get your questions in. There's not a lot of cell phone battery left. Wish you could get your hands on Keysys E40, small, relatively powerful, and great entry point integrated. I think that's a really expensive brand, bro. I'm going to look that up, but I've seen the price on some of their stuff that Darko reviewed, and I was like, whoa, that's not cheap at all. Also, I'm not going to say it. I'm going to say it. The name sounds like feces. Yeah, it does. It does. And I don't like that. I think that's a bad name. Keysys E40. Feces E40. How much does this damn thing cost? Sorry, I don't mean to be a child, guys. This is where my head goes, okay? Like, I got an email from this Chinese company. Oh, no, it looks inexpensive. Okay. Maybe I'm confused. I got an email from this Chinese company. They wanted me to review, like, a vacuum cleaner. So I didn't even reply to them, obviously. But the brand was Cuck Tech. Yes, you heard me properly. The brand was Cuck Tech. Man, terrible name. Terrible name. Let me see if I can see something else about the E40. Is it really that inexpensive? I mean, it looks good. Maybe. I don't know how to get a hold of them. Maybe I'll check it out. I'm trying to review stuff that's more expensive and get out of the budget territory, but maybe it looks good. Okay, next question. Ed, have you heard about the Newbert? Nope. Don't know what it is, brother. Sorry. Never heard of it. Newbert Newbox B40. No, I don't know what that is. Johnny or Yanni says, that's okay if quad review is not possible. In Finland, we don't get RSL here or the other cool US brands like Rhythmic. Yeah, you know how it is, brother. Unfortunately, we don't all get everything. Bob says, am I losing weight? Actually gained like 6 pounds. I did the carnivore diet for about 2 years, and then I wanted to like switch it up and just go back to normal food. So I went back to normal food, and I'm up like 6 pounds. But I mean, I work out 3 to 4 times a week, so I'm not too worried about the poundage. I just want to be healthy, man. I'm 41. I want to be healthy. I want to be strong. You know what I mean? And that's just like where I'm at. What else we got here? Yama says, okay, got it. Yama says, I can't believe I never asked in all these years later, where does the PSB Imagine Mini sit in terms of quality now that you have a ton more experience? My opinion is the same. The PSB Imagine Mini is still fantastic. Long discontinued now and no longer relevant, so I don't bring it up in discussion. But it's still an excellent speaker, and if you can find it on the used market in good condition for even $300 to $400, I think it will outperform almost everything else around that price new. Victor says, I do sound design for movies. Screens shouldn't be so bright. The blacks are more true than most TVs, closest to real expensive projectors I have ever found. Sorry to hijack away from hi-fi. No, you're totally right. Yeah, that's how I feel. I feel like the ultra bright, extreme specular highlights, it's fake. Movie theaters don't look like that, you know? Yanni says, Cuck Tech, does it even suck? Yeah, honestly, that might be their slogan, man. Ham says, is Thomas going to send you one of his solid state amps like the TS75? Thomas is willing. I don't review power amps, though. If you notice, I've never reviewed power amps. I don't review power amps. So Thomas offered. I said, brother, I'd love to help you promote, but I don't review power amps. That's not my thing. CC, Nemo, any experience with Rhythmic FM8 dual 8-inch driver? No, that's a very niche subwoofer. I asked Rhythmic about it. They said, you can review it if you want to, but 99% of people that ask about FM8 end up buying F12 SE instead. FM8 is really for those that just, you need that narrowness, right? Otherwise, for the same money, F12 SE is going to give you a little bit better, is what Rhythmic told me. So I said, okay. Bob Field says, looking good, bud. 55 over here. It's all good. Good, man. Good. I love to hear that. I love to hear that. Someone asked if I ever reviewed the Totem Storm sub. Is that new or old? I don't think that's in production anymore, brother. I don't think they make that anymore. That came out in, I think, like 2000. Let's check battery. All right, guys, I don't know if the stream froze, but no, that Totem sub is too old. I have to go. My phone's battery is at 5%, so we got to stop. Sorry if, let me see if I can answer it. Home gym tour? Probably not, bro. But, all right, guys, yeah, I got a jam. Phone battery's at 5%. The stream's going to cut out if I don't cut it myself. So, look, I always forget. Oh, it's the X button. Look, thank you for tuning in. I appreciate all you guys. Again, there is an Easter egg in the Auto VX SA40 review. Check the description. Until next time, much love, guys. Take care.